In the last video, we set up some basic registration, we covered password hashing, and we're able to create the user account. Let's now add some validation so that we can give the feedback to the user that some of the fields they entered may be invalid. Now, we could build the validation component from scratch, or we could use a well-maintained validation library. Symfony, for example, has a very good validation package, but I think it has too many features that we don't need at the moment. It also requires some more setup than some of the other packages. Another library that was suggested by some of you on Twitter is Valitron, and thank you to those who suggested. I checked it out and I liked it and decided that we're going to use that because it is simple to use and has the necessary features for our specific use case. So let's Composer require the Valitron library. So let's open the terminal, paste it in here, and let's go back to GitHub page to read through some of the documentation. So it seems like we need to create a new instance of the validator, and then we can set the rules by calling the rule method. Then we can call the validate method, and if it returns false, we can dump the errors or throw exception or something like that. Seems like you can even accept all the parameters from the post superglobal, which is great, and I think that's what we need. So let's copy this and go back to the auth controller and paste it in here. I'm going to add the exit statement here so we don't process the actual user creation part just yet. I just want to get this to work. So let's import the validator, and instead of post, we'll pass data, and let's set up some rules. So we have the requirement on the name email, and we also have the requirement on the password and confirm password. And we're validating requirement on these 4 fields. We're validating email on the email field, and we also want to validate that the password matches confirm password. So we need to add some kind of validation here. Now I don't remember what the constraint is, so let's go back here and scroll down to the rules. And seems like this is the one that we need. Field must match another field, email password confirmation. Yep, that's the one. So let's go here and we'll do equals and pass confirm password must equal to the given password. And I think that's good enough. Actually, I think we need one more validation. We need to confirm that the user with the given email address does not already exist in the system. And I don't think there is such rule available by default on the Valitron, but we should be able to create our own custom rules. So let's go back here and see what else we can do. Maybe search for custom. So it says custom callbacks. Yeah, adding custom validation rules. So we can either add it globally or we can add it per validator. And I think this is what we need. So let's copy this, go back here, and the field in this case is email, and the message configures the error message that we get if the validation fails. So we can set something like user with the given email address already exists. And within the body of this callback, we can check if there are any records in the database with the given email address. We can do that by using Entity Manager and the default repository for the user entity. So we can do something like this, Entity Manager, get repository user, and I think count will be enough because we just need to check if it exists or not. So we can pass the criteria here and we'll say email value. So this should basically return the count or number of users from the users table where email is this value. And we can simply just return it here. Actually, we could probably use arrow function here to make this a bit better. So let's do this. Let's format it. And I think this is good enough. And now let's go back to the browser and refresh the page, resubmitting everything. And we're getting yay, we're all good, which means everything passed. Now let's submit an invalid form. Let's submit a blank form. Let's click register, and we're getting some validation errors. Let's actually change printar to var dump because we're using xdebug, so it should look a bit nicer. And as you can see, the validation errors are accurate. And I think the default validation error text is acceptable in this case. Name is required, email is required, email is not a valid email address, user. This is the message that we specified. Password is required and confirm password is required. Maybe we can change this, like let's add spacing here. So let's go back to the documentation, change the text, change label or just label, set prepend labels, adding field label to messages. So we can use message or the label. I guess the label is whatever the label of the field comes back within the message, I guess whatever the label of this, and then the message configures the whole message that gets displayed. So let's add label to this. Let's do label confirm password and see if that works. Let's refresh, and it did. So this works as expected. All right, so now what we need to do is that we need to get these error messages to show up on the front end. So we need to redirect the user back to the register page and then show these error messages under the fields. Now, the first step that I want to take before we actually do that is that instead of dumping the errors here or even returning or doing something, I want to sort of throw an exception, because I think throwing a validation exception is a more appropriate way to approach this. Something like throw new validation exception, and we'll create this custom exception and pass the errors as an argument. So let's create this class within the exception namespace, and this is going to extend runtime exception. And then within the construct, we are going to accept the message, which will be set to validation errors. This way, the code will set it to 422 by default, and then throwable previews. We can actually type hint this to int, type hint this to string, and type hint this to array. Let's import throwable, and we can actually make the errors public read-only property. Now let's format the code and call the parent construct here, pass the message, code, and previous, and this should be good enough. So let's go back to the browser, refresh the page, and sure enough, we're getting a validation exception with 422 status code. Now we need to build a custom error handler or something to kind of catch this exception and then handle the response properly. For this lesson, I'm not going to build a custom error handler because I don't want to go down that rabbit hole just yet, because it gives us the full control over the error handler, and then we have to decide on the logger and error page rendering and so on. So I don't want to do all of that and overwhelm you in this video. I think a separate dedicated video to error handling, logging, and proper UI for certain errors like 404 and 500 is needed. So because of that, for now, we'll build the error handling for validation exceptions using custom middleware instead of custom error handler. So what we can do is we can create a middleware directory and add a new middleware called validation exception middleware. Let's add that in. Let's open the Slim documentation quick here. Slim middlewares implement PSR15 middleware interface. So we should be able to create a class that implements that middleware. Or we can create a middleware without implementing any interface, and we can make it invocable like this. I think I want to implement it using this interface. So let's add implements middleware interface and import that. Let's add the process method. And then within the middleware, we see that we can handle the request using the handler, which returns a response. And then we need to return the response. So let's take this and put it here. And we can wrap this within try-catch block, because when it's handling the request, it might throw validation exception because we have this right here. So one of the requests might throw validation exception, and we want to catch that. So when we're handling the request, we can catch validation exception only. Otherwise, if it's a different type of exception, it can just bubble up to the default or main error handler, and it can be handled somewhere else. In this case, we only care for validation exception. So what we can do is that in here, we can simply return the response that gets generated from here. If the validation exception is thrown, then we need to create a new response. We cannot call the handle and get the response from that, because that's just going to call the whatever method it was calling and continue the execution. We don't want to do that. Instead, we want to generate a new response. Now, to create the response object, we need to have access to the response factory interface. So we need to inject that within the constructor here and make it a private property, response factory interface, and then we can create the response using that and then simply return that response. But we can add a location header to redirect the user somewhere like register, and this should come from the referrer URL. We'll talk about that in a second, but for now let's hardcode this to register with the status of 302. Now this of course is not going to work by itself, because our DI container will not know how to resolve this class automatically, because we haven't added this in our container bindings. So we need to actually bind this within the container, and we can get the response factory from the Slim application object. If we go to the bootstrap.php and check the available methods on the application, we see that we can get the response factory from the application object. But the thing is, we don't have access to this app instance within the container bindings. So if I open container bindings and we add this response factory interface here, we need to have access to the app instance so that we can inject it. That would return the response factory this way. But the thing is, we don't have access to the app instance. What we can do to fix this is that we can move the app creation logic to be handled by the container binding. That way we can inject the app instance as a dependency in constructors wherever we need. So let's take this part from here and go to container bindings and simply create an entry for the app class. And we can move the app creation logic in here. Let's import this, and we need to set the container. So what we can do is that we can inject the container interface as a dependency here, and we can set that as the container and then simply return app. Now we can take this a step further and also move the middleware and routing to be within the app creation logic. So we'll take this and this lines from here and move it here. Let's move the middleware requirement on top, and we also need to get the routing, which is within public index.php. So let's open that. We'll take these two lines, put it here, and we'll register the routes first, and then we'll register the middlewares after. We do need to adjust the bootstrap and index.php though, because we no longer are creating the app instance here, and we're no longer registering the middlewares here. So we can get rid of these, and we can simply just return the container instance from the bootstrap PHP. In fact, we can simply just move this up here and get rid of this. Then within the public index.php, we can get rid of the router. And since the bootstrap now returns container, we can get that here, and we need to call the run method on the app instance, and we can get the app instance now from the container. So we can do get app class, and this should work. Now one other thing that we need to adjust is our CLI application, which is xpennies file, and this includes the PHP code, but it doesn't have the extension which we covered in one of the previous lessons. This one also requires bootstrap.php and expects the app instance because we get the container from the app, but we no longer need this because we can directly move this here, because this now returns the container instance, and get rid of the app instance from here. And this should be good enough. Now let's test this out to make sure that it still works. So let's go here, refresh the page. The register page still loads. Let's hit register, and we're getting the validation errors, which is expected. Let's run a couple of CLI commands to make sure that we didn't break anything there. So we'll run php xpennies list, and that works. Let's run php xpennies migrations status, I think, and that works as well. All right, let's move on. So let's close this, and going back to the validation exception middleware, we are now able to create the response object this way, because now the response factory interface has a proper binding within our container bindings, and the app instance also has the proper binding, so this is going to work as expected. Let's dump the errors here, and we also need to register the middleware within our middleware's config file to make sure that this validation exception middleware works as expected. So let's open middleware.php. Let's add the validation exception middleware here. Let's import the class. Let's go back to the browser, refresh the page, and sure enough, we see that instead of the exception, we are dumping the errors, which means that we're catching the validation exception. Now let's remove the var dump and let's make sure that the redirect works as expected. Let's go here, refresh the page, and sure enough, we are redirected back to the register page. Now we don't see any errors here because that's what we need to implement next. We need to be able to display the errors under the form fields if there are any validation errors. Now the one thing that I want to fix here is that we are kind of hard coding the register URL here. What if it's a different URL that we want to redirect from? Because this is a validation exception middleware, it's not always going to be used for the register page. We can use HTTP refer server parameter to get the refer URL. So let's create the refer variable here, and we'll get the server parameters from the request and access HTTP refer. And let's put this in here, and this should still work. Let's go back to the browser, submit the form, and we're redirected back to the register page. By the way, before we wrap up, I just want to mention that we actually have a bug in our auth controller within the validation rules. This custom validation rule here, the callback should return true if the validation passes and false if it fails. Right now we're returning the count of number of users by the email, and if there is a user found which may return 1, that technically is treated as true and therefore the validation will pass. However, in the cases where user is not found, it will return 0, which is treated as false, and validation will fail. So to fix this, we just simply need to negate this. Alright, so now to be able to access the errors on the front end after the user is redirected, we need to be able to push or flash our errors to the session so that it's available in the next request. We're going to do that in the next video though. We're going to learn how we can flash errors to the page and display them in Twig templates. So thank you so much for watching. Please hit the like button if you enjoyed it and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already done so. I'll see you in the next one.